BB851, turn right, heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
First, it was American Airlines, then Lufthansa, then it was Finnair, now it's Westjet, which are all currently battling ongoing restrictions thanks to the global pandemic. While I definitely think it would be naive to only mention these three airlines, the overall list of airlines currently being impacted by the global pandemic could go simply off the charts. Due to staff shortages coming from isolation periods and many people cancelling trips due to the general uncertainty surrounding the aviation industry, Westjet has announced at the beginning of the year that they'll be making changes to their schedule throughout January that will ultimately see the consolidation of approximately 15% of their flights. Harry Taylor notes that the airline is experiencing another hurdle in its road to recovery, and while it firmly believes that there will be an eventual recovery for the airline, it's not going to come as quickly as they first potentially imagined. As noted by Westjet widely, it's essential to continue to observe their website, monitor emails, and much more to keep up to date with the cancellations, as there is a risk that these can be done with very little prior notice. While usually something that would result in passengers voicing their annoyance, in this sort of situation, it's something widely out of many people's control, as employees are forced to isolate at a moment's notice and can then therefore be unable to fulfill their flight placement. This can even take place the morning of a flight and is all down to that important test. If replacement employees cannot be sourced, the flight can simply not go ahead for the airline, so it's nothing short of an absolute logistical nightmare trying to get a flight out when you do not have enough employees to cover it. Westjet is not the first airline and will certainly, I can assure you right now, not be the last to openly question various governments' stance on the impact these restrictions are having on travel, where it is widely required that passengers have the highest protection already to fly. Harry Taylor has noted himself that measures put in place by the Canadian government are not clear, and there needs to be more communication between the aviation industry and the government. The aviation industry, of course, the ones that are really hurting from this in a business sense. Isolations are also severely hurting. The isolation period is also severely hurting airlines, not just for passengers attempting to travel between provinces in Canada, where of course isolation requirements are inconsistent, similar to that of Australia, but also employees with what I mentioned earlier, not being more true than in this sense with scheduling. What are your thoughts on the current situation at Westjet? But I wouldn't strictly limit your thoughts just to Westjet. Of course, the topic of this video does relate to that carrier, but they are not the only airline that is experiencing something similar. Maybe the home airline in your country is also seeing their flight schedule slashed over coming months as more and more people test positive, therefore have to isolate, and flights are simply called off. Also, at the end of the day, it's not just the aviation industry in the tourism sector, if you will, that is being impacted. Rail and many other areas are facing very similar consequences, where we're seeing the slashing of around 10 to 20% of operations. Thanks very much for watching. Do take care and be safe, and I'll see you next time.